Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Devs Like Us podcast show. We really appreciate you all tuning in today. You are the best part of this show and this community. We really appreciate you all tuning in and being loyal listeners. If you're new, thank you for giving us a shot. We really appreciate it. We're actually in the first phase of building this development community that we've started on, and we're extremely excited. We actually are starting to look to have guests come on the show. And so as a part of that process, we want to start interviewing you all and finding out what experiences you all have had in industry or what experiences you all have had in academia. And so if you go to devslike.us/guests, you'll see our guest form there where we want you all to use this platform. This is you all's platform just as much as it is ours. And so we're excited. So when we have our first interview, that's when we'll be going into, another phase. But for now, we want to continue to build on what we started, and it's going to be exciting. How's everyone doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a rough week, but making it, pushing through.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. It's been a long, rough week as well for me too. So just looking forward to the weekend. How about yourself?
I'm making it. You all know I've had technical difficulties. This is my third device.
Yeah.
The audience before, so this is my third device. We've had all the mics not go out, or internet hasn't been working, mics have been going out, everything has failed. This is the last device that I can use to make this episode happen today. But
this is how we work hard. You gotta push through, make it for the audience.
Yeah.
Right. So today's topic is typical life of a developer, and I feel like that whole situation is probably a great point as far as you need to be able to persevere and push through the failures. All your stuff that you have planned, or everything's not going to work the way it's supposed to. I think this is our fourth episode, and we've never had that problem before. I get a new little, mic stand that shouldn't affect anything, and now nothing works. So
pushing those last minute changes before demo day.
Exactly. So life of a developer. Does anybody want to start out? What's the typical life of a developer like? So I know we want to break some things down, certain sections. That there's a lot of things as far as communication, how you work with your team members day to day in the office, and then of course your work schedule. So I'd say let's go around with a brief overview of you guys' experiences as far as a typical life of a developer. So JB, you want to start?
Sure, I can.
JB, all right.
So it's funny that this is our topic, because for me, I honestly believe that there's no real true life, typical life of a developer, because no two offices are going to do things the same way. Even if you have stand-ups every day in a particular group, it's not going to be, the same. And so I've had a chance to hop around to different places during the course of my career, and no office was the same that I was in. There were times where it's we're just going to give you this task and we're going to leave you alone, and you come back to us when it's done. There have been others where every week we have sessions where it's, talk about progress, how everything's going. I had times where it's every day, we're catching up with people just to see where someone's stuck on and things like that. And so for me, that's generally how it goes. Right now, I sit with the same people that I'm working with collectively on a project. And so for that, if there's something we're stuck on, we're just going to turn around, hey, can you help me with this particular thing? And so, that's generally how that goes for me.
To be honest, that hurt my soul. It hurt just to hear that. Because I don't. And the only reason I say that is because we've all seen the videos on YouTube where all developers are they're not saying anything in the video clip, but they just have this.
It's just a video of their whole day
in the background, and then they're
sitting there coding all day.
Doing Uber to work. No, I maybe 2 seconds was coding, but they were the drive to work. they would have the coffee, the nice espresso, and then they get to
Oh,
work. And
wait, don't forget about
food.
the morning exercise. Like, it's
Yeah,
morning
that
exercise.
True.
exercise in the
Then
morning.
it's, come back, get dressed for work. You're going to get to work however you get to work, and it's going to be all fun and glamorous. And then you get to work, and you're going to have, like, coffee pot talk and all that fun stuff. And it's like, I don't know anyone who does that.
I love it how they always start with like somebody's recording them in the morning, like, and then they're waking up to the iPhone. They're like, oh yeah, and then it's like people are already like no more.
So people, your coworkers in your house. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then it's all bubbly, and then like they show off the free food at the cafeteria, and then it's like, oh, such and such, they bought Thai food, and we're gonna go down there and eat Thai food, and like we don't have to pay for that either.
Sadly, I wish it was like that, but it doesn't seem like that exists.
Yeah. Have you seen those videos, Clarence, on YouTube? That our video for a life as a developer is not going to be anything that you would like type of YouTube now, and you will see it's like bubbly. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned
those people. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's funny how you mentioned kind of the scenario, because some of the things I've seen is like, it's like you say, the developer wakes up, they bike into their coffee shop. I've seen it where, they're programming at the coffee shop for a couple hours, meeting other devs. They're talking about stuff, and, then they finish up there. They get to work maybe about 10-ish, probably closer to lunch, and it's like, and then, like they might sit down, they might grab coffee, and then it's just like probably from like, after lunch till whenever, it's just like dark room, just like chucking. All you hear is keys going, headphones on and just rolling.
Exactly. And I love it. Oh man, what else? There's like, they just put all the stereotypical stuff in the clip. And don't get me wrong, like, it's a good job, but like,
I'm sure those people have, really nice days, but it's also like, I know every day for you is not, this typical setup that you just gave us. Like, I've seen videos where guys are coding. Yeah, like they're sipping coffee
and happy reading email. You're not happy with email.
Every day you're going through emails, it's like, okay, here's another one.
Each email is action. For you to do something. 90% of them are action for you to do something. They're like, oh yeah, just checking some email. Because no. Email is going to keep you from getting your work done, your actual tickets done, which is what I want to get into next. But like, if you're a developer, you're going to have some form of ticketing system. So is there anything else you guys want to hit on as far as like the overall stereotypical?
I was going to ask you about your typical day.
The complete opposite of what you see in those videos. I'm going through traffic. Traffic is horrible. I can't find a park anywhere.
Hey, I think you're right there on it, though.
No, but like, for those who have not experienced an internship or like being being in a development or engineering position, like those can be aspects of it, but where you live is a big factor as far as like traffic, how you get to work. Like the area is a big part of it. But for me, like I normally never have like stand-ups in the morning, just because developers do tend to start late. In most places, depending on what industry you're in, like if you're in like a business heavy, like in the financial industry, you might still have to start a little bit early, but most developers, they tend to cater and say, okay, we're not going to do meetings with the developers before 10 o'clock. You do have your early birds as well. But yeah, so stand up, going through emails and like fighting through emails as far as like the actions through emails and any other like tasks. And then like going through tickets, like there's so many different types of tickets. You have bug fix tickets, and they all have a different mood to them. It's like, okay, it's kind of like they all give you a different feel. It's like you have your bug tickets, you have your like your task. You can have spikes, where like a spike is kind of like if you're not necessarily building something, but you're researching something and you're going to like kind of make some documentation on it and like get back to the folks on like basically you're researching something. So like, should we go with this technology or this technology for for this feature, and then you get back to them with like some form of report. And then you have your like break fix stuff where it's like something is just not working, which is like it could be a bug, but this is like no, it's like it's not sort of kind of working where the customer might think is like that's how it's supposed to behave. This is like no, this is broken. Like this is broken. What other type of tickets do you have? Then you have, and then all those can fit in like an Epic. I'm throwing a lot at right now, but go ahead, JB. I feel like you want to say something.
No, I have nothing. I'm sure Clarence has a lot because he's a ticket man too. So.
No, I was just gonna say for me, I know when I first started as a developer, I didn't drink coffee, but now as I've gone a little bit further, a day doesn't start without coffee or I'm cranky, so that's kind of like the go-to, to kind of get jumping. But, I mean, from different experiences, most of the time it does start. I know you mentioned like a lot of places, they don't start stand up early, but most of the experiences I've ever had, it's kind of like the first thing. And, you get ready for that. And then once that's over with, then you kind of can, jump right in or at least kind of pick up where you left off. But yeah, it just depends. I think each environment is kind of different. And also that you brought up a good point too, because I know some developers might be like role specific where they might just work on bugs or, they might be working on all of the new stuff. So I think it's just the nature of where you're at, really.
Yeah, and I will say I am the wild child because I do not have a ticketing system. Because pretty much
research.
Yeah, so it's just like,
JB,
like, what are we working on today? Oh, we're going to get that thing done, and that's basically how it goes.
We've got 2 years to push something to production. Where's research? It's like we're like 5 years out.
Yeah.
No one's waiting on this because they don't know it exists, so it's fine.
True.
Yeah. So how do you compare your life as like a developer in the research environment, JB, in comparison to somebody that's a developer on a production system? Did you feel like your developer day-to-day rhythm changed a lot?
I would say, yeah. It changed quite a bit just because of the fact that like our stand-ups are, we don't really have stand-ups, so I'll just call it an informal stand-up where
you're not agile?
No.
I'm not agile no more either.
I have my own project. And so for me, I have people that work on my project with me. And so my informal things are, hey, what's going on? I've already given you your task that I need you to complete. And it's big enough where, they have plenty of work to do, but it's not overbearing to where it's like, oh, you're doing like this major thing that's pretty much a separate project all on its own. And so for my people, like we have conversations on a daily where it's just like, hey, what's going on? How's everything going? Do you need any help? And things like that. But that's pretty much it. And if there's like any one of us are getting caught up on anything, then, we'll kind of stop what we're doing, help them out, and then, keep it moving type of thing. So that's generally how we tend to do it for my group in particular. Yeah.
Awesome. So Clarence, have you had any differences between yours from like your different positions? Or has your developer experience, your life been pretty much the same?
No, it has been a little bit different. So when I first started out, I was working on something that, people like depended on. So, it was very critical to, meet deadlines.
Were you on call?
Yeah, I was on call a little bit. Yeah.
The excitement.
Yeah.
Are you on call?
No. No. I mean, that was pretty interesting because it did kind of feel like, everything was, mission critical. And, each component that was delivered, it went through, strenuous testing, all that, I mean, pretty much, from top to bottom, just making sure that it worked because, again, if anything broke, it's pretty bad. And, depending on the type of change or the type of functionality that was implemented, it could either be a small fix or it could be, trying to figure out how much data was corrupted. And, of course, in our world, data is big. So, if you mess it up, you don't know if you're looking for a needle in a haystack or if it's
A
just
needle
out.
on a needle stack.
Yeah, exactly. But now lately, I've been more on like projects that can more so help. So like they're needed, but at the same time, it's just like it's a nice to have. So the pressure is off a little bit more. I feel like it's easier to wow the customer a little bit more now because I'm not really pressed for meeting dead. I mean, there's still deadlines, but like there's still a little bit more time to do a little bit more extra, what I call like razzle dazzle. So they didn't know that they needed that, but some extra features that you can kind of throw in there to make them feel a little bit more comfortable about what you're giving them.
Yeah, that on call, I've never wanted to be on call because it's like
Never been.
I hate it. I to be honest, I feel like it's the part of the duties that you wish you could just like negotiate out of, because you never. I mean, I've been on call in so it's funny. So one position I was on call, another position never made it on that list, and now I'm back to being like on call, and so like it's stressful because you could have a whole week of not getting calls at all, and so then you hope they call before you go to bed, but a lot of times something might break. I've even seen where things break like literally right before you wake up. So it's just like in your mind, you got to get up and help them, but then you're also like, this couldn't wait another hour. Like
and most of the time it's not your fault.
No,
a lot of times, there's a lot of hands. There's a lot of hands on the structure. There's a lot of hands and people doing things, and sometimes you'll get called, and it's like if they have a direct line to you. I don't know if y'all have like a triage process, but a lot of times it could be, oh, we just wanted to know something, and like, the system's not down.
Yeah,
this is not like a frequently asked questions call here.
Well, sadly, I think that's how a lot of shops are set up, though. They have a big group of people, whether you work on it or not, but they need a centralized person to be responsible to answer that call. So, I've seen it too, where you get called, you have nothing to do with it, but now you got to call the other person. And when the person calls you, they don't say sorry to wake you up, but when you call the next person, you're like, look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you up, but this isn't me. This is you.
Right. So on call can be rough, and as one thing to know, if you're depending on what type of office you're going in, if they're going to like a DevOps methodology, there is no system admin, there is no developer, there is no security. Everyone kind of plays that role. You might have someone who is like really focused. You can have somebody that's their special, like security is their specialty, but all developers are required. Like it's not like, oh, I'm not in charge of securing this app. No, if you're a developer, you're in charge of making sure that the application is secure. You're a part of like the system, what's typical system administration work. You need to use your development skills to automate processes and make sure that it's running, it's running in production well. And so it used to be the system admins are getting called in. Now in the DevOps model, developers are getting called in because they're saying you developed this code, and now like if your code is what's breaking, in that way developers aren't just, oh, let me just code it up. Oh, it gives me what I need, so that's fine. No, you need to make sure that it's stable and things don't break, and that it's going through the appropriate test and automation pieces there. So the whole, oh, I'm not getting called in, developers, and like the word is out, like, developers need, when they're responsible for coming in, they develop more stable applications. If they're not required to come in, they're not going to be as thoughtful all the time as far as like making sure that they're testing their code and that all the reviews are going through the appropriate tests. So
see, I think that's a shocker too.
What'd you say, Clarence?
I think that's a shocker too, because like when you go when it's your first rodeo, you're kind of like, oh, I'm just a developer, like I don't touch that, and then they're like, oh, so sorry you believe that,
For sure.
I mean, it's good experience because you get a chance to dabble with a little bit or a lot of stuff, but sometimes even that could be kind of scary though, because if you don't have that experience, and they expect you to make that change or that fix, and you don't have any experience in it, you're kind of just one eye open, one eye closed, hoping that, that you don't break anything else, so that somebody else will get mad at you.
Right. So yeah, if there's any developer out there that feels as though, oh, I just code, 99% of the jobs now, you won't have that luxury. Even the large organizations, like, you need to know how to run your stuff in the cloud. You just developing an application locally you're not even going to get off day one. You need to know how to containerize your applications. You need to know you don't have to know all the cloud environments. If you know AWS, or if you know Azure or Microsoft's offering, any of the cloud offerings, they all have similar core features. So if you know one of those, you need to know how to use and deploy your application into the cloud. And most basic CS courses, I feel as though they don't really they don't have time to really hit on all of the cloud deployment, all the stuff. It's they tell you how to build the app, but they don't always tell you how to maintain it and how to scale it. So there are some classes, but you really don't hit on that heavy. So I feel like that's probably one of the biggest topics you need to go into as far as making sure that you're successful for your career, because as Clarence said, one of the big features of your developer life, and that's maybe one of the questions you want to ask. A lot of times they don't ask, but there is a potential if you're developing an application, that application is supporting a customer, and that customer needs that application. So whenever there's a customer that needs an application, there's that need for people being on call. And all these applications, some of them, like we've stated before in past episodes, they could be some type of legacy system with you've never you didn't birth that application, so you're inheriting something. So those can be interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Funny you say that, because one thing I've kind of experienced too is that when you're building an application that's going to be bolted on to somebody else's application, when they make changes and they don't tell you anything about it, customer calls you and they're like, "Hey, this isn't working," and you're like,
system.
"Yeah." Now you're pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we did mention it earlier, but I feel as though it's an important part that connects a lot of pieces of communication between the development team. I feel like your whole day is some form of communication, whether you're communicating with the computer itself by coding, or you're communicating with folks in your with customers, or with other people within your employer through emails. So that's another communication form. Then you have communication through tickets. But I do want to go back to the stand-up. Can we give a decent overview for folks of what to expect typically in the morning, what to expect in a stand-up? Does anybody want to hit it? I can hit it if you guys don't. Clarence?
Go ahead. Clarence. I think you go ahead. You seem super excited. I'll let you go first. Let's see.
That little dance was,
Well, Clarence said, I don't know about you, but mine are always in the morning.
Oh, well, I mean, so it just depends. So stand-ups are supposed to be
reverse
quick.
Psychology just worked.
Well, stand-ups are really supposed to be quick. I think one thing some people do is they go pretty far in detail. I mean, sure, like you said, communication is going to be a part of your whole day, and I think some people treat stand-ups as if this is the end-all, be-all, I'm not going to talk to you anymore today, which is cool, but sometimes, when it happens first thing in the morning, what a lot of people find value in is just how are things going? Did you have any hiccups? If so, can you please state them? But just kind of keeping it simple because,
Oh, that's the third question that you answer. So so there's, for me, just short and quick. This is why I was excited. Yeah.
I didn't know that I was giving you a segue, but go for it.
What you giving me?
Hey. 3 questions for a stand-up that you'll generally have, and this is what's if you go to the Scrum classes and all that. The general 3 questions is, first is, What did you work on since the last time we had a stand up? The second is what do you plan to work on after this stand up? And then the third is there any blockers from preventing you to do work with those stand ups? And so everyone answers those three questions going around. Depending on how like focused the team is, it could vary. It could turn into like some deep Tim. Tim out of nowhere, and Tim like a technical exchange meeting, and it's like, no, that's not what this is.
Yeah. Some people try to solve problems.
Those two circle back up with those two people, and you don't need to take everyone's time for that.
True.
Yeah.
So basically, that's how normally you would start off your day. I know the Hollywood is, you're doing coffee, playing games and stuff, but normally you would go in and sometime, but in the morning or close to noon, you'll probably have a stand up, have a stand up meeting.
Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have your coffee because
you're going to have your coffee.
That's my fuel through the day, but it's not,
with the latte art
me,
on the top and all that.
It's not me sitting around like the coffee machine and having full blown, hey, how was your day yesterday? Like conversation.
Out of the $5,000 coffee, like espresso machine.
I'm coming to my office, get my coffee, come sit down, check my emails, and then we're going about the rest of the day.
So I guess question. So, I know I hear it a lot, or I've heard it as a joke around the office, but stand up, right? Do you actually stand up? Some people expect it, but do you?
No.
So
not my office. Mine is very
yes. So some teams we do actually like really stand up, and then some teams it's not like we're not even in person. We do it in chat. We have a stand up like chat, and we answer the three because everyone's remote. Like everyone's out.
True.
Because it depends on the situation. So and that kind of is a good segue to another part of the life in the day is like notifications and stuff online. I feel like as a developer, my number one goal is to get to like actually developing and working on the code or the feature tickets that I have, because you have emails and meetings and everyone tries to get you. And that's why if it's up to me, I do try to get in early before everyone else is, because that's when I get my code in. And when people start coming in, it's just on my screen. Oh, hey, Terrence.
Questions all day. And so you start working, which kind of goes back to when I was talking about last episode of the one thing of, you're trying to get your mind back into the work that you're doing. And then you get into the groove, and then someone's like, hey, I know you're working, but I have this question. It's like,
what?
Why did you have to bring the butt into it? Like you could just send me an email really quick or something, because, sometimes you're in that groove and it's hard to get back into that. And so, I tend to like to come in early some days, just where I'm like, all right, I know what I need to do. I know how I need to execute it. Let me just get in here, get this out real quick, because I know once everybody comes in, like questions are going to start, conversations are going to start about, future things or what's going on now. And it just kind of gets mixed in. Yeah. When people are coming into the room and they're asking all these questions, it throws you off, and you're just trying to get to the code, because that's your, well, I know for me personally, that's my joy moment of getting to my code and doing that development. And so with that, we've kind of talked about how the day-to-day is of being in the office with other people, but kind of want to get to how is it when you're sitting there and you're coding and things like that? How's your coding process go? Like for coding, are you one of those people that, comment a lot like Clarence does, where he over comments and still forgets what he was doing? Or are you one of those people that's just like, they'll figure it out eventually?
So for me, every development team that I've worked with, I've been fortunate enough to where we've had a guide, like a programming guide, or we've had a certain like amount of standards. So it was hard for me to overcome like all that was, especially when I was in the Python shops, like there's like a Pythonic way of coding. So there really is was a guide for us to follow. And I feel like every development team should have that. So because we all know when we're coding, like on our own personal projects, our git commit messages are not the prettiest. It's kind of like, oh, it's just me. And then the way we comment, we do it like for us. And so that's why it's good to have that programming guide. If the language itself doesn't have one, for the team to agree on. But most programming languages, they do have like a best practice where, those are kind of infused into that. But for me, so like after I'm knocking through the emails and all the other actions, but I do like to code. I do like to code early in the morning. So when I'm like fresh, got a good night's sleep, go through the actions, and I still have like 2 or 3 hours before everybody comes in into the office, and then like the emails start to pick up again because action, like after you get those first actions out, more actions probably come in. But like get into the code, I used to like try to go in and like as like earlier on, I used to say, oh, let me just see if this works. Oh, let me just see if this works. So I try to make sure that I map out either on paper or some type of thought process or flow process of like, what am I doing? How I'm going to implement it? How many different methods or functions, depending on what language you're using, I'm gonna use to have each set or function and how it's going to work and how they're going to connect together. So I used to get straight hands on keyboard, and I still can do that depending on what it is. But if it's a complex like new feature, I want to map out what I'm doing first and then make sure I go through that from there. And but yeah, Clarence, how about you? They let you just like add all the comments?
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I'm a solo developer, so for me, I do the extra commenting just for, just so I have a note of it for later on, and if anybody comes and picks it up, they know they'll have something to kind of go by. Because I've seen some shops where there might be less comments in the code, but we had like a dedicated person who wrote up like a real system, document on how it all, flowed and different sections of what things did and kind of like overall breakdown, which was cool because
I love diagrams.
Yeah, diagrams. One thing that I don't see though, like in the corporate space, that I thought we saw a lot more in school was flow charts. I think that a lot of people kind of ignore that as a process as a whole. So a lot of times, when you build all of these systems or you build like multiple scripts or different pieces of code. Without that, you pretty much you hand somebody, a folder of code and say, good luck, connect the dots yourself versus like, I really think like a lot of places, don't invest enough time in the predefined process planning. Yeah. Planning. And I think it's hard too, because like a lot of times, like depending on what you're working on, there's so much unknown that like you really, you can ask a lot of questions, but you don't know. In some cases, at least I know from personal experience, I don't know what I'm going to write up until I start actually coding. And then it's like, oh, I'll go back later, and make note of that, which means never. But, I think, I don't know. I've tried to do my best, to be clear and, make variables that, people can really, pick up on. But I've been on teams where I think you kind of mentioned it earlier where there were no standards. So like people would it would be like a few people kind of understood or, were kind of on one accord, but there could be a couple other team members who kind of just like made crappy commit comments. So it's just like, what did you push in the master? You could go look at, pretty much the blame, but it's just like, what did you do again? What did you change? This isn't really descriptive. So I think if there is a chance, definitely as a dev, take that opportunity. If you notice things that are slacking or you notice things that you wish or were different, make those changes and just kind of like, implement it yourself and then try to get more people to kind of, join you. So then that way, you'll actually benefit the company and not hurt the company.
And when you said starter, you talk about like the coding standards or practices.
Yep, standards, practices. Just making suggestions to team members. I know when you work on a pretty big team, a lot of times that's kind of hard because some people have been doing things a certain way for so long. But I think one thing I've kind of seen is that, and I don't name drop, no, not call anybody out, but a lot of the experiences that I've had compared to the process that I learned in school, you don't see it. People who've been coding for years, they don't know, like I mentioned earlier, the pre-planning process, or, actually like, from start to finish, how a project is supposed to look. But, they're like, here, code this. I guess that kind of just fits in what we kind of wrote back into what we were talking about earlier about, like the dream dev, day to day. Whereas like, in your mind, you expect so much, but in reality, you're either doing it all yourself, or you're kind of picking up those bad habits that other people have kind of just, done and let go by the wayside. So it could be pretty toxic. It definitely could be pretty bad for you, because you could be on one team that doesn't care, and then you go to a new team and, they're very thorough, they're very organized, and you're just like, now you're that guy to say, we don't do that.
Spaces are tabs.
Yes.
But yes, that's a good point. So, and I feel like another point too is like those blockers. So you're doing those coding, your stuff just is not working during the day. Do any of you all have a special go-to that you can do to clear your mind, or to kind of like make sure you push through that blocker? And I'm not talking about blockers like as far as like other tickets, but like the function that you're trying to implement is not like, you're not getting it to work. So I know for me, I like to step away. I've had a bad habit sometimes of like snacking, which is not good because you have a lot of problems. And if you snack on it, if you're snacking, I mean, if it's apple, it's okay, but like mine was like chips, all
M&Ms.
Right. Yeah, don't do that. But yeah, I do like going for walks if the weather's okay outside, like thinking of like going off that. Sometimes going to other tasks, like other like just day-to-day tasks you have might help. It might cloud yourself, like drain you down even more depending on what's there in the chat rooms and in email. But like I think the biggest thing for me is like going out for a walk. Do any of you all have to go through to like break through a problem that you're trying to solve when it comes to code?
For me, going for walks is a really good one. I also tend to just kind of have a conversation with a coworker and I try to find the coworker that's not, busy, since I don't like when somebody does it to me, but just to have that conversation and talk through what you're going through, because there have been plenty of times where I'll be like, hey, I'm having this problem and, such and such is happening. And in the midst of me even saying it, I'll be like, wait a second, I figured it out. And they're like, you're welcome. And it's just, they were there just to be that listening ear for me. Which one of my bosses, he actually got us like the little rubber ducks to kind of be that person for you so that you don't have to bother people. I have yet to use the rubber duck because I'm just like, that just looks really odd. And it's all like different types of rubber ducks. So like someone has like an army duck, someone has like a teddy bear duck, and all these different things. But even just looking at them, just like, yeah, you're not going to fill that void that I need. I need to talk to like an actual person, just because even if I can't figure it out in the midst of me talking to them, they can kind of give me feedback on, okay, well, it sounds like you're trying to do this. How about you try this type of thing? So having that dialogue with someone else generally helps me a lot.
If you don't have dialogue with somebody else, I love walking to the whiteboard. The whiteboard is my other person sometimes.
True, yeah. Whiteboards, yeah, I love whiteboards.
It's so educational, like that feels like, oh, you're going to get some knowledge, and it's just the board and whatever you're searching to solve the solution.
Even if you're just drawing shapes markers, up there.
Have different color markers, dry erase markers up there. Like, okay, this is what's going on. This is what it is. This is what it's not. That Facebook music starts playing in the background. I'm like, we're gonna get this stuff.
It's that real dramatic, like amped up music.
Yeah, and then standing up sometimes. If you're fortunate enough to have a sit stand desk, standing up.
Yeah,
sometimes. The walking, sit stand, and whiteboard are my three go-tos. And just time off. Like just
that's true.
Back to it.
I mean, sometimes you need those mental health days. But
sure.
I'll say also for me is just the fact of like you alluded to, doing other tasks. But you kind of said, other day-to-day tasks. Whereas for me, it's like, I know I have other things on my plate. So it's like, if it's not as important as the particular task that I'm stuck on, then I'm like, well, this still needs to get done. So let me, do this just to kind of get me to like a mellow space, which kind of gets me back into the groove of development. And then I'm like, all right, I've got this piece done. Now I can make this context switch back into what was my problem space before. But, how about you, Clarence?
Confidence builder too. It's like, oh, so let me go for like a sure win. So it's like, okay, I got something off this list done. Because you can have 4 things on a list. One of those things could take like a long time to do, or it's like a lot of ifs, and those other 3 can be like, I just know I need 30 minutes and that's done. Or
right.
Let's program this action for this particular button that's on the system type of thing, where it's like, oh, this would be no time at all. But yeah. Clarence, how about you? Any special things?
I think y'all hit all of them.
Oh, no, we didn't.
No, did
go for a walk.
I know one of yours, Clarence.
Go for a walk,
Jerry.
I was going to say go out and go fishing. He's just going to go.
Oh yeah. If only my job was closer to a body of water that had fish in it, I definitely will pull out the pop out rod. And but now I think for sure, going for a walk. I know I also mentioned I am that coworker, but I'll at least like ask, make sure that, hey, am I distracting you? But I need to really, kind of talk this out, because I think like that is big. I know a lot of times just talking about something totally off task, the light bulb will go off. You're like, sorry to stop you, sorry to be rude, but I got to go fix this really quick. You gave me kind of what I needed.
But those in like regular days, or like waking up in the middle of your sleep. It's just like, wait, that's that thing. I'll write it down now before I,
that's what I needed. Right. So, doing that, going to get water. I mean, I think anything to kind of just take your mind off of what you're doing. Because I know sometimes you go so hard, your back hits the wall, and then it's just like, I don't know what else to do. So you just got to step away from it, step away from the wall itself. And I don't know.
What happens when you hit the wall again?
You hit the wall again? Hey, you hit that wall pretty hard a couple times, Hey, I meant to say I gave you a pretty hard time.
Did they need to go back to understand that?
That was episode. Was that
was the last
2?
episode?
No, it was episode 3. Yeah, episode 3, Imposter Syndrome.
I forgot to say at the beginning of this. I was super sorry. I went back and watched over, and I really gave you a hard time, and you really gave a really good answer. And I wasn't being a good friend that day. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That hurt me, because I was like,
what happens when you hit it again?
I could tell.
Real.
I could tell. I was really.
JB was like, it's like, gosh, Terrence, Clarence.
Yeah, I was really coming for you, but I was just trying
to a Rock'em Sock'em Robot real quick.
I just was trying to, I was really.
Clarence committed to watching an episode. Clarence just committed to watching an episode.
He does like us.
But there's another point that I wanted to hit that we had, and it was side projects. So, life of a developer, we've done code at home. You have your stand-ups. Your code at work. And we have your daily stand-ups. You got your actions that are coming in email and chat. Do you all go home and code and develop more?
I'm a bad coder. I need to work on it. It's on my improvement list to code at home. Because I have seen kind of like, I've seen from others how beneficial it is that, you go home and kind of pursue your own personal projects, or just, taking a little bit of extra time to understand the technology that you might be working on now, or a technology that's going to be used, in the future. So if it's a feature for something that you'll be doing, it's super important to kind of take the extra time, because during the day you're busy, with all the other things that you got on your plate, that it's okay to come home and just take that time to just do it at your own speed. Do you code at home?
So for me, there's kind of an ebb and flow with that. There are times where, my home development or my home learning is really high and I'm just like kind of on a roll. And then there's times where it's like when I get off and I'm at home, I'm just like, all right, that's enough. I've been coding all day and I just need me time. And so right now is one of those high moments where like last week I took a course just to refresh myself in like C development and memory management and things. And I have another course lined up that's in statistical learning that's coming up. And so I'm, doing those types of things where it's not coding per se, but it's still self-development within the career field. And so that's kind of how it's going for me right now. But I will say coding projects, I have a laundry list of them, but I just haven't quite gotten to them and followed through with them yet. Because I have quite a few things around my home that I want to, get into and develop and things like that. And so it just takes a little time to get there. But,
right. Yeah, I think that's one of the things I struggle with. I think you definitely hit on it was that, sometimes the day is so stressful that like the last thing I want to do is see a screen. So I know one of my guilty things is other, projects that kind of home projects that kind of take precedent, in the after hours. So, whether it be just crafting DIY type of stuff. So I do need to shift more into, actually developing or doing more development at home.
Doing home DIY projects and things.
So one of the reasons why I think I don't do a lot of development at home is that I do hit a roadblock of, I hear so many folks who like come up with great ideas that they could develop. You go on YouTube or you go on, like you just watch stuff on TV and you see a lot of folks doing some pretty cool stuff. But I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I get home and I look at my laptop and I'm like, I know I should be coding something, but I don't know what I'm coding. I don't know what, am I taking on something brand new? Am I trying to improve something that's already out? Like, how do y'all kind of handle that?
Well, I love, yes, I do love like coding something out at home. That's the only way I really stay current because a lot of times, like when you're at work, you're doing what what's best for the development team and the company, right? And so that's not always necessarily best for what's for you and your career and make you a better, well-rounded like developer or engineer. So sometimes when you're at work, like you're good at something and like they'll give that to you and it's not really let's make you a better, well-rounded developer. No, we have we have a deadline. We need you to do this because this is what you this is what you do. So do that. So at home is more so of working on working on your weakness. And what you're not best at. So my coding and projects at home are really the things that I'm weak at. So it's to make sure that I'm removing those weaknesses or strengthening those weaknesses, so that I have that opportunity and building your GitHub portfolio to where you're always staying fresh and current with things because sometimes what you have at the job might not necessarily be the newest or the future of where the industry is going. So there are a lot of people that they've been working on a certain product for 10 plus years and they're still dealing with the same tech stack that was 10 years ago, right? So and then you end up having to move to another product and they're dealing with a technology that's 2 or 3 years old. So you always want to stay current, go to tech talks or listen to other new technologies because each one, if it's picking up traction, if there's a new technology that's picking up traction, it's picking up traction because it's more efficient. It makes the developer more productive to where you can focus on other problems rather than whatever thing that you're normally sticking with. Normally they make things a lot easier. It's advancing, so you don't want to just stick to the first tech stack that you've ever learned because there's going to be something that comes out that's better.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, so I definitely love working and coding at home, and I always try to make time for it. And to me, that's what's fun. Like that's when it goes back to being your baby, to where it's like you don't have to integrate to this big, huge thing, or like you can do it like it's your time, like it's what you want to do. And to me, that's just enjoyable. You can it's a different feeling for me too as well. But and then it's also a good feeling when something you come to a problem at work and you're like, hey, I know this service or this library or this technology that solves that. And that's like one of the best feelings in the world. And to me, that's just confirmation that like you're doing the right thing. So like I've had that happen a number of times where it's a technology that the team is not using or they might not even be aware of, but it's something that I read in a blog post or something that I did in my own personal development time that I was able to speak on it. And like when you do that, that makes to where it's like, yeah, I'm always make sure I have my self-study, my self-coding time at home separately, you know, and it doesn't have to be much. It could be an hour a week or an hour a day or like whatever fits. Like something is better than nothing. I know folks have like busy, like when you're working a full career, like sometimes it gets easy to not, you know, you coding all day, so come back home and code again. So I wouldn't say every day, you know, you do want to have, you know, some time to make sure that you're re-energizing for the next day, because all those things will kind of like merge together. So you do want to do something, if it's working out or whatever, like do a hobby that is not coding as well, just so you can have a break. There might be some people that enjoy like being 24/7, but for me, I like a change of pace. Like I would like to do something else too, but I do make time to where certain days of the week where I am exploring and testing things out. So I think we hit on a lot of good points. Anybody else have any other points we should hit on for life of a developer?
I guess.
Go ahead, Clarence.
I say only other thing I could guess of. So I know earlier when we were talking about kind of like the ideal dev life, you know, we talked about kind of like the coffee shop dev. But have y'all seen like the dev who wakes up, you know, on the beach? You know, you know, develops just right there.
Up the laptop and
yeah.
Nomad. What's it? The nomads, the remote developers.
Yeah. I knew a guy who he traveled in an RV, and that's kind of how he did it. You know, he would set up shop at a camp and just code wherever he wanted to go. So he got a chance to, you know, see the world, but at the same time, you know, still get work done.
Yeah, and like being able, I know we had a lot of points of like debugging and how do you write your code, one-line comments versus multi-line comments, but you really do want to be in a good mindset. And we really hit on this with imposter syndrome you on the last episode, so you should check that out as well. But you really want to be in a good mindset. Life, like if you're down and like life and things are hard, it is really hard to code when like you have so many like other things running through your head or you're not in a good mood. And that's why I think like great developers, a lot of times, I don't know if you notice, and I'm not big in stereotypes, but they'll have the Nerf guns around. You'll have little basketball hoops in the office, and everybody says, "Oh, we're just big kids." But like when you're just in a terminal all day, you want to find things to make it lighthearted and stay in a good mood. And like to me, that really is important. Like all that stuff, and really kind of what we saw in the stereotypical, with like, oh, the developers in the game room. All that is giving their mind a rest. Like we're doing some serious computations and solving like serious problems and working on like algorithms or making sure these powerful systems are up and running. So like you need a break from that. That's drains it. Like it drains you. So like doing those things, like if you have little things in the office, and this is probably the final point that we can have, life in the office, your relationship with your coworkers, have little games. Like people will have like little games in the offices where they'll do little things. Like I know a big one is like the Nerf guns, where everybody has their own Nerf gun. If people are just going through it, they'll just start, you know, going off with the Nerf guns, or they'll maybe they'll have certain like days where they wear like certain types of shirts or some type of theme parties or something, or have a theme lunch. So all that stuff to me does help. Like I don't want to be in a toxic environment where it's just like, oh, come on, code, go home.
It's code, which is all day, every day, and just keep your head down.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's a place for that, but like if you're there, you might as well. It does. I do believe it makes you more productive if you're able to
being there.
Enjoy being there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So. Yeah, because I've definitely had the offices with the Nerf guns, like kind of going back to our interview episode where, you know, I'm having those conversations of what kind of office environment would I be working in? just because you want to make sure that you're comfortable and it's enjoyable, that when you have those downtimes that you enjoy that time while you're there, because you still have X amount of hours that you need to be at work and that you need to be completing things. And so you want to make sure that whether it's you're deep into the code and you're enjoying yourself, or there's downtime and you need to enjoy yourself as well. And so going back to your friend Clarence that was in the RV and he's working remotely. Working remotely at home and working remotely, while traveling are two completely different things, because I like human interaction when I'm working. And so, like, with the pandemic and things and working from home, I'm like, yeah, I'll have, this chat with a coworker in the chat system, but it's not the same as being there and having those conversations. So for me personally, I need to have that human interaction when it comes to being a developer and in the office with people. So yeah,
I would love to get him for an interview. He's a digital nomad, right? I think that's the technical term.
I think that's it.
Totally different from a remote work, but I like those are like special folks, and they're like always traveling, but they seem happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, any other points you guys had? That was pretty good.
Now, I think I'll just add my last little piece to add would be from experience, I've noticed like companies that are more business driven, they don't really have those step away and, like things to take your mind off of, what you're doing. But I have seen like at a more technical, or I should say technology type, driven business, where they do definitely put that effort in and making sure that like you have a space to kind of, walk away and do something different, whether it be like, like you said, the Nerf guns, or one place had ping pong, you just meet up with a couple peers and just do that. But I know one thing that adds a lot of value to that alone is that now one thing I think that is really critical for developers is like collabing with people. When you talk to people in different space or different experiences, a lot of times that helps drive. Holy crap. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
No. No.
Yeah, that was really loud.
Oh, snap. I was like,
okay, Jesus, we hear you.
I'm almost
What
finished.
was that?
It was lightning.
Thunder.
Or thunder. I think lightning
Your
hit
internet about to
something.
go out too. That's why I said let's wrap it up.
Oh, my bad. I'll wrap it up.
I'm just joking.
Let me add something else.
No, sorry.
Another thing.
I'll end it with this, just saying that as a developer, one of the big things that I think helps you succeed is just collaborate with it, not only other devs but just other people in your workspace, because being a dev is almost like being an artist. You could be driven by a lot of different influences, and that kind of just it sparks the mind. It improves how you think. So it definitely, I think it helps shows up in what you develop and what you design, because now you put more effort into how do humans need things, or how do humans kind of interact with certain things. So
I think to summarize, this conversation, to kind of bring it all together, there's no real typical developer day when you can't put a general stamp on that for people. There may be a typical developer day in a particular office or company and things, but there's no real typical thing that you can just say, every developer does this and this is how their day is going to go. This is how your day is going to go when you get out of school, because people do things differently based on their needs and mission statements that they have. And so with that, anybody else?
That's well said, JB. So thank you all for joining in. This has been another episode of Devs Like Us. Once again, we appreciate you all tuning in. And if you want to hit us up, hit us in the chat.
I'll say if you do it in the comment section, please, if you're one of those developers that we jokingly, said does all of those nice things, please, we would like to meet you because we want to just see, you know, how is that life?
Yeah.
Like one more thing that I want to add in, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because you know that's how we want to make sure that we continue to connect with you guys, and definitely hit that bell so you can get those post notifications. And yeah, we just want to keep this conversation going with you guys. And